In the event that your iPhone 12 or 12 Pro falls in a storm drain, I am happy to report that you can fish it out successfully with the MagSafe charger if the phone somehow lands face down. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro. This is the white 256 iPhone 12, and this is a graphite iPhone 12 Pro 512 gigs. I'll tell you this right off the bat. The iPhone 12 series is by far the nicest line of iPhones to ever exist. They are my favorite, mostly because of the design. Like if I hold the 11 Pro and the 12 Pro next to each other, they kind of look very similar from the back, save for the addition of the LiDAR scanner. But really, it's the flat edges that Apple decided to go with this year that make this thing feel incredible. The iPhone 12 and 12 Pro, to me, feel way more premium because of the way this phone is designed with these flat, sharp edges. The volume buttons are flatter, the power button is flatter, the phones can stand up by themselves, which is pretty awesome. But just something to me about holding a phone with this design, which we'll talk about the inspiration in a second, in comparison to something like the 10, 10S or 11 Pro with the rounded edges, this 11 Pro now to me just feels outdated in comparison to the 12 Pro. Now, that's not to say that the iPhone 11 Pro isn't a fantastic, really nice device. It's just we've never had a phone with the notch, with the edge-to-edge display that had these sharp edges. It's very much like the iPad Pro. Now, if you recall way back to September of 2012, this is a slate iPhone 5. Tell me you don't see the resemblance. The iPhone 12 Pro is a bigger iPhone 5, and I am very happy about that. Make no mistake, these are very similar in design, and that is definitely on purpose. Apple nailed it with this. This, I think, was probably my favorite iPhone design to date. This is when the screen got bigger to 4 inches from 3.5. But again, we've never had an edge-to-edge display iPhone with the flat, sort of boxy design, and I like it. Now, in terms of materials, the iPhone 12 line is using an aluminum chassis around the edges, so it's a matte finish and you don't see fingerprints at all. And then the back glass is shiny. The iPhone 12 Pro, the back has the same sort of matte glass finish that the iPhone 11 Pro line has, and then the chassis on the 12 Pro is stainless steel, and it is an absolute fingerprint magnet. The second I took this thing out of the box, you touch it at all, and it has fingerprints everywhere. This is gonna sound crazy, but I think I prefer the feeling of the iPhone 12. The aluminum feels a little bit more grippy to me than the stainless steel feels. It's like a little bit slippery. The iPhone 12 is also a little bit lighter in the hand. Like, this thing definitely feels a little bit more substantial. And that, of course, is because, like I just said, it's stainless steel, the chassis stainless steel, and you have the addition of the third camera. And you'll notice on the side here, there's like a little window. I originally thought when we saw the leaks that they were going to maybe do some sort of wireless charging, which we got, but in a different form factor. We'll talk about that in a second. It's actually just sort of like a cutout for the 5G antennas. So that's what that is. And you'll find it on every iPhone 12 because every iPhone 12 has 5G. One of the substantial differences between the 12 Pro and the 11 Pro is that the 12 Pro has a 6.1 inch screen, and the 11 Pro has a 5.8 inch screen. So physically speaking, the iPhone 12 Pro is a little bit bigger. It definitely, you feel it in your hands, obviously, because it's like a different design, but it's, I think, a little bit it's slightly wider and then slightly taller. But I have my sights set on that iPhone 12 mini, which is not out yet. And I'm sure you've heard about the boxes. Inside the box, you get the little pamphlet, which comes with an Apple sticker. You get the Lightning to USB-C cord, and then obviously you get the phone, but the boxes are now so much smaller, and good for Apple, you know, getting rid of the wired headphones, which I'm sure you probably have a couple pairs of, and then also just ditching the bricks entirely. People are saying, oh, I can't charge it because it's USB-C. Yeah, you're right, unless you have a new MacBook or you have a USB-C brick. But Apple is notorious for kind of just really moving forward quickly without looking back. They got rid of the disk drive, they got rid of FireWire, the MacBooks now only use USB-C, so they also got rid of the headphone jack, and I think a lot of people saw this coming in terms of like Apple just slimming down on sort of everything, and I think this is indicative of a portless future. And we'll talk about this MagSafe charger now because this thing's pretty interesting. So I saw a couple people ask the question, can you charge the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro regularly with the Lightning port? Yes, you can. You can plug in a Lightning port and it works as you would expect it to. The Lightning port still exists. But now they've added a magnetic ring to the back of every iPhone 12.
I couldn't hear what you said.
That's Siri for you. They've added a ring of magnets onto the back of all the iPhone 12s, and they sell a separate accessory, literally they are calling it MagSafe, which just magnetically snaps to the back of the phone, and it charges the phone wirelessly. I mean, there's definitely a cord. It's not like magic where you can just have the phone on your desk without it on here. You need to have this attached to your phone for it to charge. But first thing, the cable is very short. Let's just be real here. The cable is way too short. I wish they probably will eventually make a 6-foot version. This is almost identical in length to the standard Lightning cable. Apple, please consider making a longer one of these. Like, I want to route this into a plug through my desk and just have the puck on my desk, but it's just not long enough. Okay, now in terms of how strong the magnet is, let me just show you. I can easily pull it off, right, like with force. However, like I showed you in the beginning of the video, like it stays there. Now if I yank, of course, but like I'm gonna do this, like I'm shaking it, right? Like I'm dangling it with some pressure, and it's doing pretty well. So that's what it looks like. Now I'll show you. You have to like pry it off. You really, like if you gave this to a baby, they might not be able to take it apart, but it kind of just comes undone like that. It snaps into place really well. I saw someone else ask about the actual puck itself. It's got like a silicone or like rubbery sort of finish. I was personally worried about it scratching the back of the phone, but the finish here is like kind of rubbery. Yeah, it just sort of magnetically snaps on there. And then I think some of the benefits of having a wireless, again, there's a cable there, but having a wireless charger like this, traditionally, if you were to use a wireless charger that, one that just sits on your desk, you can't really use the phone when it's laying on the charging mat. As soon as you take it off, it stops charging. This solves that issue. And whatever you're doing on your phone, let's say you want to you're scrolling through Twitter, let's say, like this. You can just turn the charging pad to whichever direction you want it to be in, so the cable will be out of the way. Like a lot of times I'm watching Twitch in bed, and my phone's plugged in, and the wire is just like, it gets in the way where it's like this. You could just kind of put it down here in the middle like this and continue enjoying your video. The MagSafe puck can be repositioned in any way you want, which is really great. Another sort of like hidden added bonus of using a MagSafe charger like this, if you are a person that uses your phone caseless, if you are that confident in your ability to not drop your phone, basically when you put the phone down on a desk, instead of it just like being on the desk and your charger, the cable's plugged in and it's just on your desk, the puck is going to be a layer of separation between you and whatever, disgusting desk you have with, glass shards everywhere. But yeah, I noticed that when my phone is charging on my desk and it's on the MagSafe, it is not getting scratched by the debris on my desk, which is great. Hi, sorry for the interruption, Editor Sam here. I forgot to mention that if you have an iPhone that has wireless charging capabilities, MagSafe will work. This is using the Qi wireless charging standard, and that means that yes, if your Android phone charges wirelessly, you can use MagSafe with it. It won't magnetically snap on perfectly, but yes, it works. Okay, back to the video. All right, so aside from the MagSafe puck, Apple also has new accessories that are using MagSafe. I have the green and blue cases, which both work with the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro because they're identical in size. The cases this year, the silicone cases this year, have a new finish which are not nearly as sticky as the older finishes, which is amazing. What's cool is when you put the case on the phone, you get a little animation to indicate which accessory you're using. It's kind of unnecessary, but it's also pretty cool. And then yes, if you're using Apple's silicone MagSafe case, the charger magnetically snaps to the back like that, which is dope. For years, Apple has been making really great cases, and this year is no exception. I think that if you ordered an iPhone 12 or 12 Pro and you were thinking about a case, you should definitely consider one of these. They're really good. Okay, so aside from design and MagSafe, we can talk about the, only sort of really new feature. The A14 chip, the phone feels incredibly fast. Like, obviously, it's a brand new iPhone. They make the chips faster every year. It's snappy as hell. But the sort of main, new marquee feature is the cameras. I went outside earlier today and filmed some test footage. Don't consider this as like my definitive camera review. I definitely want to dive way deeper on this stuff, but I can tell you from my 30 or so minutes outside with this, video looks fantastic. What you're looking at right now is some sample 4K 30 test footage. The ability for this phone to lock into subjects is incredible. Now again, of course, this is a new iPhone. The cameras are really great. The photos come out really good. It seems like they sharpened the ultra wide a little bit, which is a really welcomed addition. I think a year into using the iPhone 12 Pro, the ultra wide kind of is lacking, but it seems like they fixed it a little bit in the iPhone 12 Pro. Also, it seems like they made a lot of improvements with the selfie camera. It looks really good. Now, there's obviously a lot more to talk about with these new iPhones. I've only had them for a few hours, so that's why this video is way more of an impressions video than a full comprehensive review. But I think if you're watching this to get some guidance as to whether or not you should upgrade, I think if you have an iPhone 11 Pro, you should not upgrade. You've got 3 cameras on that thing. They are very good even a year later. I think if you have a 10 or a 10S or an iPhone with 1 camera and this or this is your first iPhone, you will be super, super pleased. I think if you're coming from something like a 7 or an 8 with the old style body, I think you either might really like this or really might dislike it because it is jarringly different in your hands. Now, I say this a lot, but if you can, go to an Apple store and hold these, check these out in person. There is nothing like seeing and holding and using a gadget in your hand versus just seeing photos of it or watching videos of it on the internet. And if you were wondering, yes, I am still holding out for that iPhone 12 mini. For years now, I've wanted Apple to go smaller. They finally did. And when I get the iPhone 12 mini, you will definitely see a video about it. So that's kind of it for this first impressions video. If you have questions, leave them in the comments. I will definitely be making more content about these new phones because it's iPhone season, baby. But I think if there's one thing to take away from this video, this is a giant iPhone 5, like they did it. For all of you iPhone diehards out there that held on to this thing and then maybe even got the newer SE, like, this is it. Thank you, Apple. These are amazing. And that's kind of it. If you're new around here, my name is Sam Sheffer. A subscription would be awesome if you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you made it all the way to the end, and I'll see you next time. Oh, and real quick, unfortunately, at least my fridge, the iPhones do not magnetize to my fridge. That's a bummer.